कर देगी ठीक है Enlightenment is to be vigilant when everyone is sleeping. It is to see when everyone is blind, to hear when everyone is deaf. I welcome everyone to Interview Charcha, organized by Creatures Garage. An interview provides an employment opportunity to the job seeking candidate and plays a vital role in developing confidence among candidates. But the bigger question is how to prepare and face it. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speakers today. Our first speaker is Mr. Abhishek Ranjan. He is a full stack engineer with experience of developing enterprises and web applications in Java, Spring Boot, SQL, JavaScript, React, among many others, and received his master's degree from University of Illinois, Chicago, and is currently working at STEM Includes Canada. Our next speaker, Ms. Mohita Kaushik, is a well-known software engineer working at CINT Canada. She has a vast experience in this field. Please maintain the decorum and adhere to rules and regulation. We have something very exciting for you all in the end of the webinar, so everyone please stay tuned. I request the speakers to please take over and enlighten us with your precious information. I welcome everyone to our webinar.
Okay, so hello everyone. Looks like Abhishek has got some problems with his earphones. He's just fixing that. Meanwhile, I'll just start like telling you guys about a bit about myself. So I'm working as a software engineer with CINT. It's a US-based Brazilian company, and it provides solution to its clients. It has a vast variety of clients in retail management systems. Before that, I was working with an insurance company as a full stack developer, working on front end and back end technologies. And before that, I have experience of working in for some of the major banking clients as a software developer in India and in Singapore. So that's a bit about my experience, and we'll try to today to give you guys share some of our experiences about interviews and provide you some knowledge and some pointers about that. How can you be very sure, or how can you present yourself in your interviews? And just feel free to ask us questions in between. There's nothing like, let's make it more interactive. Just raise your hand, or just interrupt us anytime when you are there. And that's pretty much it. So what we can do is we can start with some of the uh, questions which we already had received from the participants. So we can start with that. And while going through those list of questions, we can share the experiences from our interviews and tell you guys about that. So the first question which we had was how to prepare for technical rounds. So what we can do is you can what I would suggest is if you guys can take some notes, because we are gonna mention some websites or some links which will be helpful for preparation. So for technical rounds, what you can do is first of all, like if you are a fresher or if you are even experienced, just prepare your basics. It's like, let's suppose you're going for a interview of a software engineer or a Java developer. Prepare your basics, like simple algorithms, data structures, simple questions. Okay, then you can practice coding on. There are some very good platforms such as Lead Code, HackerRank, and other websites where Coderbyte and all, where you can practice, where you can simulate the exact interview environment. As in, let's suppose you can practice with a friend. Let's suppose if I have a practice interview with you, I'm gonna ask you, okay, let's suppose how will you code this particular program? Let's suppose finding a duplicate in a set of array. So prepare that with a friend, or maybe someone from your class, with your classmate. Prepare some practice questions. Do it in a timed manner. It's like you have a 1 hour interview. Let's suppose you have a 1 hour interview. Don't consider that as exact 1 hour. Take 40 minutes. Take 40 minutes to solve the question, because 20 minutes the interview interviewer is going to ask you questions, plus he's going to give you time to ask him or her some questions. So you should give him time. So that's important that you try to solve it in less than the given time frame. So that is there. Prepare about your resume. Each and every point you are writing in your resume, you should know about that. Let's suppose if you are mentioning DevOps or some cloud technologies on your resume, mention they might ask you about that as well. So you should be prepared about those pointers. Apart from that, there's one important point I would say is that for technical rounds, if let's suppose you are asked to write some code, so don't just start scribbling, like don't just start writing it right away. Tell about your thought process. Tell what are you thinking? Why are you thinking about this thing, this approach? Discuss a couple of approaches with the interviewers. Tell him that, okay, I'm finding this one better than the other one. That this is more simpler, or this is less complex. This will take less time to run. So mention the points. It's like what we say is that think out loud. Whatever you are thinking in your mind, tell the interviewer. More than the solution, what they are interested in knowing is that how how you are thinking, what's your thought process, how you are approaching the problem. So that is there. And I guess uh, that's basically it for how to prepare for your technical rounds, your basics, your coding practices. Uh, Create an environment where you can practice with a friend or a classmate, practice in a timed manner. So that is there. And now I think Abhishek has been able to fix his earphones. So I'll pass it on to him to introduce himself.
Hey guys, sorry about my microphone. Actually, like I use it day in, day out. I should be expert by now, but here I'm like I always struggle with my earphones. So I'm actually a full stack software engineer, and I'm working with STEM Inc. So basically, it's a firm in Silicon Valley, like in California, and it's in energy storage and management. So I joined almost like 6 months back there. So it's a startup working on how to actually manage energy in a way that you can save more money. So that's me. And before that, I was working with Ford full time in Michigan. So it's like almost 2 years I worked in Michigan, and now I'm in STEM. So little about me. So I was working in Gurgaon, TCS, in 2017. So I moved to US for my master's, and there I did it from University of Illinois, Chicago. And after that, I started with Ford, and later on, I moved to Canada last year. So there, I joined STEM Inc. So basically, my role has been like diversified. I was a Java developer in prior, then I moved to web application developer. Now I'm in like Python and UI. The company works for with artificial intelligence AI. So it's bit of Python, it's bit of JavaScript, it's bit of React. So it's like a kind of like full stack role. So today, like I'll try to give my perspective, like how I faced and how I gave all my interviews and like how it has been for me. It might be a slightly like a different approach in India, but it's gonna be like similar. Like there's a website, Blind, where if you go, you can actually see like the companies follow the same pattern. Like even in India and US, the interviews are almost like on the similar pattern. So yeah, we can start and like answer all your questions.
Okay, guys, what I would suggest, I would do is like whatever links or whatever pointers we are gonna share, I'm just gonna type it in the chat as well so that you have reference. Maybe you can look later in onto that, log in, create a profile, or do things like that. So, like Abhishek just mentioned about Team Blind, I'm just gonna share that link in the chat. So you can refer that. People actually share, that's an anonymous website. People share their experiences on this website, about the companies, about the salary range, or about the culture. So if, let's suppose, you are applying for a certain company, you can just refer to this website. And or there is another website, glassdoor.com. You might be already aware about that. So you can mention, you can do your research. So the point here I'm trying to make is that before appearing for the interview, let's suppose you applied for a company, you got the call for interview, do your research on glassdoor.com. You will be able to see other people's experiences. Let's suppose if I'm applying for a Java developer role, what I'll do is I'll go on glassdoor.com. I'll say, like, let's suppose Java developer at Amazon in Bangalore. So what people do is they share their experiences. Okay, they were asked these list of questions. That was the process. They had 3 rounds, they had 4 rounds. One was HR round, 3 were technical rounds. So you get an idea about how the day is going to be for you. So always do your research first. So that's there. Apart from that, there's another question we had
Uh,
from one of the, yeah, sure.
I'll just I'll just add on the technical, like the one which you answered before. Um, I'll give my perspective. Like with Ford, I've interviewed people as well. So I'll tell you like what I looked into when people actually came for interview. So I see a resume and I see a guy. So I try to find out whether that guy who has listed out all this information on his resume has actually worked on those things. So the interview questions might not exactly be a theoretical, like I'll not just go on and ask the theoretical question and the guy will satisfy with me like all this theoretical answer. I'll try to find out that the person has actually worked on it. So a simple way to know this is knowing the nuances of what you are mentioning on your resume. So the best way to prepare is, even if you cannot complete the 100% of things which are there on your resume, try to, like, even if you're doing like 50%, try to be more in deep, like knowing the technical stuff, not just what it is, but more like how it is. Just for example, like the basic thing which we do all the time, like what is hash map and what is its implementation. That's the basic thing like we always do. So take that basic thing and apply on all the topics. You will see, like, if you're learning a topic, just do a small project, small thing, like implement it. Like when you implement it, you know more technically than when you just read about it. So that is one advice which I'll give you all, like on the technical preparation. And sorry if we will be saying a lot of stuff which you guys might already be knowing, but yeah, that's how it is. Like we don't know like how much you guys know, so we'll be just covering everything.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah, sure, go ahead.
yeah, Abhishek Bhaiya, your voice is a little slow. Can you hide the pitch?
Little slow, maybe my
Sorry, a little low.
okay. I'll
Yeah,
try to
that's fine.
speak louder.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'll try to. No worries.
Okay, so yeah, I totally agree with Abhishek. So that's what, like, whatever you are writing on your resume, prepare some examples. It's not like I worked as a Java developer in that project. No, that's not the complete answer. Prepare a scenario, what exactly you worked on, what were some of the important milestones or which you achieved in that project, in that company. So always go into deep for preparation, and that's where you'll be more prepared. So that is there. So the next question which we had was how to prepare for HR rounds. So I would say that for HR rounds, it's like mostly behavioral. So what they want to know is how good a fit you are into their company, into their culture. So for that, always prepare about the company, research about that, know their CEO, know their motto or their tagline, some of the projects which they have done, their clients. So that way you'll be more prepared, and when answering questions, you can always refer to your preparation. Like if you know that okay, TCS has served a number of banking clients, you have done your research. That shows that you have done your research. Apart from that, they want to judge you based on your soft skills. So I would say be pleasant, be smiling, be friendly with them. So that is very important because you should seem like that you are approachable. You will fit into any team. The team will be willing to work with you. So that is there. Plus, HR, they ask you certain questions which might be a little technical, because let's suppose if you are having your first HR round, the recruiter is calling you, and they might just judge you on the basis of certain technical questions, that if you are a good fit to the role or not. So that is, always be prepared with your technical stuff. Apart from that, they ask you certain behavioral questions. So a very common question is like, what is your weaknesses or what are your strengths? Or let's suppose they ask what mistakes you have committed in the past. So what happens is that we feel that they are asking about about our negative qualities, and we just refrain ourselves from telling that they might judge us based on our negative qualities. No, that's not the point. Nobody is perfect. So prepare answers to these questions. And I would say that what they want to know is, again, your thought process, even in answering behavioral questions. Plus, give them examples, maybe from your personal life. If you don't have work experience, maybe from some internship experience or from some class projects or from teamwork in which you have worked in a team. So share those examples, share those experience. And one important thing which I would say is that there is something, Amazon has these leadership principles. So there are 14 pointers in that. It covers a wide range, basically like how well you perform in a team, how well you adjust in a team, if you have an important decision which you had already taken. So it's mostly, most of the companies, the HR rounds are based on those questions. So what we would suggest is that all of you guys, before even when you have decided that now you are going to apply for the companies, go through those 14 leadership principles from Amazon. Prepare a couple of examples for each of the principle. So let's suppose if there is a pointer on team building, prepare a couple of examples, maybe from your college projects or from internship or from anywhere. That doesn't matter, but prepare those examples, write it down somewhere, and that will be helpful for you in your entire interview journey. So that is something which you can just take a note of and prepare on that. And
And to add on to that, like the 14 principle, it might be like the all the 14 principle doesn't fit your bill. Like you might not have had the opportunity to experience the particular principle. But in those scenarios, just think like, what will you do if you actually have to face that particular scenario? So maybe just frame your question, frame your answer in such a way that that is your perspective that you will do when you face that scenario. And regarding HR round, one of the question which Mohita said, like, what is your weakness? We always overlook that. That is something which makes me find how the candidate will be facing the problem that the company has or the challenge that company has. So like personally in my first interview, I always thought that technical, like a company looks for a guy who is technically like sound and doesn't have to be a person who can answer those questions. So I didn't prepare and I went. All my rounds were going good. Then I had like, here how it goes. You have like two rounds in which it's more technical. Then you have a round with hiring manager. Then again a round which is more technical. The hiring manager is mostly your lunch, like that is pre-COVID. Post-COVID, everything is on like virtually, but pre-COVID, it was mostly lunch. The manager asked me like, "What is your weakness?" I never prepared for that answer. Like I never knew that this could be a question, right? So I just said like, I just said that I don't think so. I have any weakness as such, and that was the most stupid thing that you can say in your interview. The manager was like, "Okay, so you're perfect. You think that you know everything." There's no weakness in you. And after that, that question turned the interview in a different direction. And probably that could be a reason why I was not picked over there. But there could be certain other reasons I felt. But that interview, I actually bossed up that interview just with that simple answer. So prepare your HR round. It's not, we always think that कि ये चलता है यार, ये तो बस ऐसे पूछते हैं, but it's like more deep into that. So prepare for it because they look for a cultural fit. Technical fit and cultural fit goes hands in hands.
So, another thing to add is like, yeah, even like if you, what sometimes happen is that if you might not be able to perform that well in technical rounds, but they like your personality, they like you as a person, you are able to show your willingness to learn, they find you a good fit. So they still hire you because everybody learns in the company. Whatever we study in college is separate. Whatever we do in the industry is completely different, so they know that you are going to learn. So that is important, that you should perform, like you should be friendly, you should be approachable, so those skills are important. So that is it, I guess, for the preparation for HR rounds. Practice in front of mirrors, as in like when we go for like speech in college, or an impromptu or debate, we practice before that. Similarly, practice for the interviews as well. So I think someone raised his hand. Dhruv, yeah, sure.
Ma'am and sir, I have a question for both of you, sir. That is there a difference between the interviewers in India and abroad?
Abhishek, I think you are on mute.
Okay, I can take that question. So, you know, like जब मैंने मास्टर्स कंप्लीट करके इंटरव्यू लिया ना, तो फिर पहले स्टार्ट हुआ, तो कुछ आई थी कंसल्टेंसीज. there's a huge consultancies chain over here. So people like, I don't have anything against it, but people from India, like they were asking, they were based here, I'm not sure, they were asking too many theoretical questions. They just go into theoretical loop by, like they keep on throwing one question after another onto you. And when people from here interview, so what I face is much more easy in a way that you are more calm. They don't throw question after question with you. They more are like interested what you have done and what you know. They don't ask what you don't know. They ask like what you know. So it's more like interview where you share your experience rather than keep on answering the questions posed by them. And personally, I feel that is more better for me, and I find it more peaceful and calmful when they ask what I know rather than just throwing questions over there. Because one guy was so rude. He was like, that was just after my masters. He was like, "What do you want me to ask?" And then he started, he knew that like I was not that fluent in Spring, but he just went into that loop and he just started going. So when I interview a guy, I know that guy doesn't know this topic. I just don't go deep dive into that topic. I just ask the guy what he knows. Probably he might be 70% fit, but then I have to find that 70%. I cannot be just fixed on the 30% that guy doesn't know, right? Because interview, an interviewer is giving his hour and the interviewee is also giving an hour, so you should respect the time between both the people who's giving interview and the guy who's taking the interview. So that is my perspective. That is the difference I have found like 2 years back. Probably things will be better now, but yeah.
And again, just to add on to that, there is always something like you can direct your interview. So even it applies everywhere in India, in US, in Canada. So what I mean to say is that while answering certain questions, or maybe while introducing yourself, or telling about certain like about some projects, so tell about tell more about the project which you are more confident in. You can always take your interview in the direction you want. So like while talking bato mein, you just say, worked on this project, it was very challenging, I learned about let's suppose Spring Boot, that was different for me, I did some work and I am interested in knowing more about that. So when you mention about certain project, the interviewer is inclined to ask more on that. So be smart, be strategic in giving certain answers, like take it in the direction you want. You can always do that. So just prepare some of the projects, some of the technologies which you are most comfortable in, and then answer accordingly. So that applies everywhere in India, in US, and Canada. So that's there. And I think there are some, like, every interview is like, can be a good experience, can be a bad experience. So one important point is that don't let that interview, a bad interview, uh, like uh, it should not impact you that much. You should not be impacted from one bad experience. यहाँ पे क्या होता है, there are like 4 5 rounds. I'm not too sure about how the process is in India, but let's suppose in a day, if you have 4 5 rounds, and let's suppose I went for the interview and my first round was a disaster. It didn't go well, and they asked me certain questions. They asked me a code, a program, which I didn't know, and I was not able to perform. And what happens after that was like, I get so demotivated that I don't perform well in later interviews as well. So take one interview at a time. Take it, just one interview, do it, give it, forget about it, focus on the next round. What happens in the end behind the scenes is that all of the interviewers, they sit, they rate on their own perspective, they rate the candidate on their own perspective. And sometimes, let's suppose your last interviewer was very friendly, was very nice, and he liked you a lot. So they will actually वो आपका side लेंगे, and they will be advocating for you that we should hire him. So don't let one interview experience impact your other interviews. So that's very important, and that's applicable everywhere. So Ayush, yeah.
Yeah, a very common question that is asked is how much salary do you expect? So, what is the correct way to answer this question?
So for this, सबसे पहले तो you should be aware कि वो company कितना pay करती है. So if the company is range between X and Y and you have like the thought कि मुझे Z मिलेगा, तो वो कभी नहीं मिलता. So you should know कि जहाँ पे तुम interview दे रहे हो क्या वो तुम्हारी expectation meet भी करती है. Then जब पहला ऑफर होता है ना, there's a saying over here जो मुझे पहले नहीं पता था. If you don't negotiate, you are leaving money on the table because every company goes with a range. They don't have कि चलो भाई मेरे पास ना X पैसे है, मैं इसी पे हायर करने वाला. वैसे नहीं है, वो X to Y जाती है. And they wait for candidate to shut down themselves कि वो पहला ऑफर लेते ही वो they will be too excited to negotiate and वो नहीं करते हैं. So the art is you don't give them the exact figure, you give them the range. तो तुम्हें भी उनके साथ बॉल प्ले करना पड़ेगा. You cannot be like, okay, you give me X, then they will give you X minus something. Just give them the range that you are satisfied between this range. अगर तुम्हारा इंटरव्यू बहुत अच्छा जाता है, then you will go higher in that range. अगर नहीं जाता है, then you go lower in that range. But at least तुमने अपने आप को बॉल पार्क फिगर दे दिया कि so that they can you they can put you anywhere over there based on what you did in your interview. तो ये यहाँ पे चलता है. एक चीज जो डिफरेंट है, मे बी यहाँ पे दे कैनॉट आस्क योर करेंट सैलरी. दे कैनॉट आस्क यू कितना अभी आपको मिलता है. So even if you are making 70, you can just go and say कि मुझे 150 चाहिए अगर तुमने इंटरव्यू अच्छा किया है. They can never ask you about your prior salary. इंडिया में they do ask. I think paycheck भी मांगते हैं कि वो ये करते हैं. That is something. तो फिर उनको स्मार्टली प्ले करना पड़ता है कि कंपनी इज गिविंग मी, या फिर जैसे फ्रेशर्स के पर्सपेक्टिव से मैं बोलता हूँ कि आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग, आई एम इन टॉक विद सम अदर कंपनी विच माइट बी गिविंग मी दिस मच मनी. अगर तुम्हारा इंटरव्यू अच्छा गया तो ऑब्वियसली एचआर फिर तुम्हें ज्यादा करके पैसे देगी. बट देन अगेन इट डिपेंड्स कि क्या वो कंपनी उतना पे करती है. देन ओनली यू कैन नेगोशिएट उधर जाके. बस ये होता है.
And
Thank you so much for the answer.
ये जानने के लिए,
Sir, I have a question, sir. So can I
Mm-hmm.
ask? Sir, I'm
Sure,
asking
sure.
that is there any specification with one language or many, we have to study many language, or like if I study Python, it will be okay like to go with for my last year with Python, or something like I have to also study Java, like JavaScript. I can that thing, sir.
Python and Java, I find is very are like kind of like same object-oriented approach programming language. Abhi jis company mein I'm working, I never worked on Python before, and they asked me like, what languages you know? I said like Java, I know JavaScript, I know React. They took me on that, even though they don't have anything to do with Java. It's more Python. So basically यहाँ पे जो होता है language is something like you can learn even in a month and two. कंपनी के मतलब professionally you it's very different than जो तुम college में करते हो. So you can always grasp any new language. So I would say कि language सीखो साथ में technology सीखो. Know something about DevOps कि how the pipeline Jenkins जो वो सुनते हो ना Jenkins pipeline every company implements it. Cloud सीखो AWS या जो भी cloud सीखना है. Cloud is something which is really big over here and there as well in India. So if you know cloud, you have an upper advantage compared to someone who just knows one language. So know more about technology rather than focusing on just one single language and being best at it. And anyways, do algorithm as well, because in your interview you will be coding just a simple snippet of code. So जितना तुम उसमें fluent हो गए algorithm और problem solving में, उतना you will be better at like cracking the interview.
So, sir, the DevOps and cloud is important for our career.
I wouldn't say career like तुम DevOps engineer अगर जा रहे हो, then definitely it is important for your career. But if you are going as a full stack developer, knowing how things work, like it takes a month to just create a simple pipeline and see how the code is deployed. You don't have to be expert in it, but you should know how the things are happening. Maybe एक दो महीने 3 महीने साइड में you can learn more on cloud कि क्या होता है EC2 instance क्या होता है और क्या AWS के क्या क्या सारी different चीजें होती है. So that if a company works on cloud, they would want to hire someone who has some knowledge about cloud rather than someone who doesn't know anything about cloud. So basically ऐसे ही जाता है, hand to hand जाता है. We weigh and see how this person is against this person. So if you have some more technical in depth, not exactly complete knowledge, but technically know how तुम्हारे पास है, then you can compete other than like the person who has very deep knowledge of a language but doesn't have knowledge about technology. So वही होता है कि सब जगह हाथ पैर मार के, ऐसा नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि हर जैक ऑफ कौन सा वो फ्रेज होता है कि you know about everything but you're not expert onto some one topic. So वैसा नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, but be good in few of the things. And yeah, आज के time में people look for full stack. They don't look for someone who is just a programmer in one language. जब भी हमारा इंटरव्यू होता है ना, we look for people who knows कि वो कंपनी में जाके काम कर पाएंगे. They should know about the technology, cloud क्या है, DevOps क्या है, कैसे पाइपलाइन चलती है, प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज. बेसिकली तुम प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज किसी को भी ट्रेन कर दोगे 1 से 2 महीने में, बट कोई अगर टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोफिशिएंट है देन इट्स वेरी एडेड एडवांटेज.
बेसिकली वही होता है कि मतलब आप जैसे कोर्सेज कर सकते हो यूडेमी पे, कोर्सेरा पे, एक महीने के 2 महीने के कोर्सेज करो. लेट्स सपोज आपका पहले आपको हमेशा जॉब रिक्वायरमेंट पता होती है कि दैट इज व्हाट दे आर लुकिंग फॉर, एंड उसमें हमेशा एक चीज ही मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट होती है. लेट्स सपोज जावा डेवलपर और लेट्स सपोज डेटा इंजीनियर. सो इफ यू आर नॉट अ गुड फिट फॉर दैट तो आप वैसे भी उसमें अप्लाई नहीं करोगे. बट इफ यू सी दैट कि हाँ भाई जावा का रिक्वायरमेंट है, मुझे जावा अच्छे से आती है, तो विल डेफिनेटली गो फॉर इट. एंड उसके अपार्ट उन्होंने बहुत सारे और पॉइंटर्स लिखे होते हैं जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन में, जेडी में, रिक्वायरमेंट में, कि ओके क्लाउड का नॉलेज होना चाहिए, CI/CD पाइपलाइन का पता होना चाहिए. सो डोंट बी बॉदर्ड अबाउट दैट, जस्ट हैव सम नॉलेज that okay, you know how things work, but you are expert in one field. If you know about, you are saying that you are a Java developer, you know about Java, you know about Java. So let's suppose ऐसा होता है, one of my cousin gave interview for a Python developer role, let's suppose, and Python का requirement था, but he didn't know Python that much that कि वो code कर पाए, program कर पाए. He said that is it okay if I code in Java? अब क्या होता है, algorithm, process, concepts, it's all same for all of the languages. आप you can just syntax change होता है, the way you write is different. So if you know your basics, if you know कि कैसे अप्रोच करना है, you can always ask interview rounds में कि if is it okay if I do it in Java, or if you are more comfortable, is it okay if I do it in Python? And nobody says no. Usually they just give you this freedom कि आप अपनी पसंद की लैंग्वेज में प्रिपेयर करके आंसर कर सकते हो. एंड सो आप ऐसे करके यू कैन ऑलवेज आस्क, तो वो रहता है. एंड आई थिंक लाइक या
I wanted to ask something related to this only, that we should focus our more on projects or we should focus more on certification courses like Coursera and AWS batches and everything. प्रोजेक्ट्स ज्यादा बेनिफिट्स देते हैं या फिर ये कोर्सेज?
इस पे
I yeah,
सॉरी
sure, go ahead. No, that's fine.
इस पे आई वुड से कि it depends, like अगर तुम AWS का certification कर रहे हो, that holds the value, but if you're just doing a Udemy certification, just knowing the stuff will be more beneficial rather than wasting time on Udemy certificate, because Udemy Coursera के certificates की इतनी value नहीं होती है, but अगर AWS का certification कर रहे हो, that is like official certificate मिल रहा है कि you know something. So you can do certification AWS या cloud के अगर जो आते हैं, that is like again paid होता है शायद वो, you have to pay for it. उसके apart even Udemy में courses करना will be beneficial, like, और projects करो, like when you do course you do a project, right? Certification अलग चीज हो जाती है, course करते हो तो तुम project करते हो, तो that is I feel more beneficial. और जैसे अगर language की बात है, अगर Java आती है, then learn the स्प्रिंग बूट एज वेल. स्प्रिंग तो शायद अब पुरानी हो चुकी है, स्प्रिंग बूट भी लर्न करो, क्योंकि एक लैंग्वेज के साथ ना उसका फ्रेमवर्क भी देखो कि क्या कैसे यूज होती है. कंपनी क्योंकि कोड करती है तो फ्रेमवर्क यूज करती है, दे डोंट जस्ट यूज द लैंग्वेज, दे यूज द फ्रेमवर्क. इट्स वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड किसी फ्रेशर को अगर इतनी चीजें आती है ना कि स्प्रिंग बूट भी आता है, क्लाउड भी आता है, यू हैव वेरी गुड एडवांटेज. और आज के टाइम में तो इट्स मोर क्या बोलते हैं, ईज, कि तुम्हारे पास यूडेमी है, फिर देन यू हैव कोर्सेरा. 4-5 years back there was nothing, no Udemy, no Coursera, so हमें तो एक बुक मिलती थी जिसको खोज के ऐसे रीड करना. So Udemy and Coursera is good, like if you do projects, because उसमें सिखाती हैं projects. तो कोर्स ऐसा लो जिसमें they do a lot of projects, and I think it's very helpful. People do it over here as well. मेरी कंपनी फोर्ड ने यूडेमी का दे रखा था, फिर किसी किसी कंपनी कोर्सेरा का देती है, so that their employees can relearn or learn more technology. So even companies, people do it over here as well. So do those courses over there in Coursera. Personally, Udemy I prefer more than Coursera. Coursera मुझे लगता है थोड़ा theoretical ज़्यादा होता है. Udemy is more project oriented, but I might be wrong.
कोर्सेरा टाइम बाउंड भी होता है आई थिंक. अगर आपको 1 महीने का 1.5 महीने का कोर्स मिला है तो आप उतने टाइम में ही यू हैव टू कंप्लीट, यू पे फॉर दैट कोर्स उतने टाइम के लिए. यूडेमी इज बेटर. आपको कोर्स, यू बाय द कोर्स एंड आपको पूरा एक्सेस होता है फॉर अ लॉन्गर टाइम, तो आप अपना टाइम लेके उस पर सीख सकते हो. सो दैट्स व्हाई इवन आई प्रेफर यूडेमी ओवर कोर्सेरा. उसमें ज्यादा ऑप्शंस एंड वैरायटी मिलता है, मतलब देखने का. यू कैन ट्राई, अगर आपको नहीं समझ आया, मे बी इंस्ट्रक्टर का एक्सेंट नहीं समझ आया, लैंग्वेज नहीं समझ आया, यू कैन ऑलवेज से स्विच टू अनदर कोर्स. तो वो भी एक आई थिंक बेनिफिट होता है यूडेमी पे करने का.
And एक और चीज बतानी थी, I did knew about this before. एक होता है GitHub में, there's a student pack. So if you register as a student on GitHub, you get a lot of different softwares. Even you get some money for AWS, I guess. So try that as well. It's a good learning thing. GitHub student package. It has a lot of good stuff. So maybe go through that as well.
If anyone has any other questions, please ask.
Sir, actually, in some of YouTube video, they are saying that if I do Python in 2021, there is, because with Python you need a extra language like Flux, you need to add with to develop, and no company hires Python developer for backends. Like they are saying something like that. It is
Java is more trustworthy. If I go into interview now, if I want to search a job, I'll get more jobs as a person who is full stack. So if you learn Java, Spring Boot, JavaScript, React, it's very, very, very in high demand. Python, yeah, जो नई कंपनी आती है, स्टार्टअप आती है, वो Python यूज करती है मोस्टली. AIML बेस्ड लैंग्वेज में Python को लोग प्रेफर करते हैं. अप एंड कमिंग कंपनीज में it's more Python, but then again Java has equal share. So if you personally, मैं किसी को भी सजेस्ट करता हूँ, मैं सजेस्ट करता हूँ कि pick Java. Java is more easier to, like Python लोग बोलते हैं easy to pick होता है Java के comparison में, क्योंकि syntax check नहीं होता है कुछ भी. But Java is more like all-time language. So if you are a Java developer with maybe front-end knowledge, थोड़ा सा technology is good. And इंडिया में आई डोंट नो मार्केट कैसा है, पाइथन के लिए कैसा है, बट वही बात हो जाती है कि अगर सिंपल लैंग्वेज से कुछ नहीं होता, यू नीड टू नो द फ्रेमवर्क्स एज वेल. तो पाइथन के साथ साथ शायद से फ्लास्क के लिए बोलते हैं या फिर जो भी बोलते हैं, दैट इज वैलिड. बट वही होता है, व्हेन यू लर्न लैंग्वेज, लर्न द फ्रेमवर्क दैट यूजेस दैट लैंग्वेज. इट्स ऑलवेज बेटर. या अरूप.
Yeah. So sir, I saw you have worked with TCS some time back, and so actually, my question is, how has been your experience in terms of working with a service-based company and now being working in the Silicon Valley in a startup culture? So, how do you see the differences in between both the work culture and how was your experience and learning at TCS?
TCS is huge. So TCS में when you go to a project, like हम दोनों same project में थे. I was in the same domain. Mohita was in the same domain, but our experience was totally different. I was stuck in a project जहाँ पे we do stuff just for the sake of delivering it. जैसे हमारा मैनेजर आके कहता था पैच करो, just deliver it, पैच करो, deliver it. सो जो सबसे पहली चीज मैंने फोर्ड में देखी थी, एंड आफ्टर कमिंग हियर, पीपल आर टू मच इनटू जो कोड तुम्हारा होता है ना, उसकी क्वालिटी होनी चाहिए. जस्ट शुडंट डू द स्टफ, इट शुड डू द स्टफ राइट वे. जब हम लीड कोड करते हैं ना, तो हम कोई भी सोल्यूशन हम सोच सकते हैं कि सोल्यूशन और हमने कर दिया आधे घंटे 40 मिनट में, बट देयर इज ऑलवेज ऑप्टिमल सोल्यूशन. तो अभी से अगर हैबिट हो ना कि ऑप्टिमल सोल्यूशन देखने की कैसे करते हैं, दैट इज यूजफुल आगे जाके भी कंपनीज में, और इंटरव्यू में तो बहुत यूजफुल होता है कि तुम ऑप्टिमल सॉल्यूशन पे फोकस करो. तो द डिफरेंस हैज बीन द कोड क्वालिटी इज टू हाई कंपेयर टू जब मैं वहाँ टीसीएस में काम करता था. टू गेट थ्रू योर कोड, जब भी तुम कोड करते हो, सेम था, फोर्ड में एक्सपीरियंस था या फिर यहाँ पे एक्सपीरियंस है, is the same. When you do code, they just don't want to deliver the code. वो code quality check करते हैं, completely tested code होना चाहिए. Then performance wise code hamper नहीं करना चाहिए existing में, regression नहीं लाना चाहिए कि तुम्हारा code slow up करे system को. So everything goes into that. And इतना iteration होता है, agile framework use होता है, right? हमारे companies में इधर पे यहाँ पे, अभी इंडिया में भी हर जगह agile use होता है. फीडबैक लूप इतना स्ट्रांग होता है ना कि हर दे डोंट इवन वेट फॉर द एंड ऑफ द स्प्रिंट टू एक्चुअली सी व्हाट वी हैव डन. They keep on iterating and like keep on suggesting what you should modify to get it more like robust and more performance wise good. So ये डिफरेंस है. वहां पे हमारा वाटरफॉल मॉडल होता था. यू गेट अ टास्क, 3 महीने तक काम कर रहे हो सेम में, 3 महीने के बाद पता चलता था वो जो तुमने बनाया था इज नॉट एज पर द एक्सपेक्टेशन. फिर वापस से तुम ब्लैक बोर्ड में जाओ, चेंज करो, फिर बनाओ. So I find this one like more feedback loop oriented approach better compared to what it was before, because developer को इतना idea नहीं होता कि जो वो कर रहा है. You need a third eye to actually get more क्या बोलते हैं, more कि तुम्हारा अप्रोच सही है कि नहीं, you're doing stuff the way it should be done. So ये एक डिफरेंस मुझे दिखा है बहुत
यहाँ पे कोड रिव्यू बहुत होता है, मतलब जैसे आप डायरेक्टली पुश नहीं कर सकते हो. इंडिया में होता था कि किया दिया खत्म काम. मतलब वहां पे इवन मैनेजर्स बोलते थे ठीक है यार करके दे दो, बग आ जाएगा, इशू आ जाएगा, तब फिक्स कर देंगे. मतलब दे न्यू दैट देयर इज अ डिफेक्ट कि भाई नहीं चलेगा, उसके बाद भी डिस्पाइट दैट दे वर विलिंग कि ओके डाल दो. यहाँ पे दैट इज नॉट द कल्चर. आपका रिव्यू में जाता है. इवन अगर आपका सिंटैक्स में या अगर वे ऑफ राइटिंग में जो मतलब रिव्यूअर्स होते हैं, दे फाइंड इवन छोटा सा भी सजेशन होता है, दे गिव यू दैट. तो मतलब जैसा अभिषेक कह रहे हैं कि बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग फीडबैक लूप चलता है, एंड उसकी वजह से ऑब्वियसली क्वालिटी विल इम्प्रूव, तो वो रहता है. बट अगेन टीसीएस में ऐसा भी नहीं कहेंगे. इट डिपेंड्स. दोनों तरह के प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं. इट्स अ ह्यूज कंपनी, बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं. देर आर प्रोजेक्ट्स विच आर वेरी गुड, वेयर यू गेट वेरी गुड एक्सपोजर, ऑन साइट अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिलती है, लर्निंग बहुत अच्छी होती है, नई टेक्नोलॉजीज पे काम कर रहे होते हैं, एवरीथिंग. बट अगेन देर आर प्रोजेक्ट्स विच आर ओके, विच आर लाइक उतना अच्छा नहीं है, बट अगेन देर इज ऑलवेज अ लर्निंग इन एवरी प्रोजेक्ट. सो उसमें क्या होता है, तुम आगे बढ़ के पूछो, आगे जाके अपने मैनेजर से पूछो, अपने कलीग से पूछो कि मतलब कैसे सीखना है. सिट विद देम, उनको देखो, शैडो करो उनको, उनसे पूछो कि हाउ शुड आई लर्न, मैं कैसे इस पे आगे काम कर सकता हूँ और कैसे सीख सकता हूँ. अपना मतलब आगे बढ़ के काम करने का होता है कई बार. मतलब इफ यू आर नॉट गेटिंग इट, जस्ट टेक इट, लाइक गो बी फॉरवर्ड इन दैट. तो वो कर सकते हैं.
यहाँ पे टीसीएस में मतलब मेरे फ्रेंड वगैरह का बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस भी रहा है, मतलब पीपल हैव मूव्ड अ लॉट लाइक हायर वर्किंग इन टीसीएस। इट्स जस्ट दैट कि डोंट सेट बैक, और वही नहीं करना चाहिए कि एक साल वेट करो फिर तुम्हारा रेटिंग आता है, जो यूजुअल रूटीन होता था। व्हेन रेटिंग आने के बाद 2 महीने मैंने काम करना बंद कर दिया, मुझे रेटिंग सेटिस्फाई नहीं लगी, उसके बाद वापस मैं आके आई एम कंटिन्यू वर्किंग देयर। But look like what you are getting, because when you are working in some company, अभी realize नहीं करते, अभी young age होता है, मैंने भी नहीं realize कर रहा था कि you start earning, oh भाई job लग गई, and you start earning and you just merry go round, हम खुश एकदम। But like when you are spending a year with a company, just see what you are getting in that year. That is also equally important, because you don't want to be in a place for 3 years, उसके बाद तुम सोचोगे 3 years में I didn't learn much, and people will expect कि 3 years में you should know this much, तो ये चीज important हो जाती है।
Yeah, thanks a lot.
No problem।
Sir,
आदित्य।
hello sir.
हम्म।
I have two question. सर एक स्टूडेंट है जो टेक्निकल में बहुत अच्छा है, मतलब कि उसको सारे मॉडर्न डे टेक्नोलॉजी आता है, और एक स्टूडेंट है जो नेशनल लेवल कोई एग्जाम लाइक गेट, हमारा इंडिया में जो होता है गेट एग्जाम, वो मतलब उसका वो रैंकर है, ठीक है। और दोनों ही ऑफ कैंपस अप्लाई करते हैं, ठीक है, दोनों ही क्वालिफाई कर लेते हैं, लेकिन सर किसका सिलेक्ट होने का चांस अच्छा है? और सेकंड क्वेश्चन है, आफ्टर वर्किंग 2 years सर किसको सर ज़्यादा अप्रेजल और प्रमोशन का चांस ज़्यादा मिलेगा सर? ये मेरा क्वेश्चन था।
गेट का अगर कोई कंपनी है उसका गेट से कोई कनेक्शन नहीं है, वो अब एज अ डेवलपर हायर करिए, तो आई थिंक वो प्रेफर करेगी जो डेवलपर ज्यादा अच्छा हो। एंड
ओके सर।
हाँ, क्योंकि तुम कंपनी के लिए कितना फिट होता है, दैट इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट रादर देन कि तुमने क्या स्कोर किया या फिर क्या रैंक लाया, बिकॉज कंपनी इतनी बॉदर नहीं करती है आज के टाइम में। यू जस्ट वेरी वेरी स्मॉल पार्ट इन दैट कंपनी। सो हम अपने लाइफ के बारे में सोचते हैं कि भी हमने ये किया, हमने वो किया, बट कंपनी बॉदर नहीं करती। नोबडी लुक्स एट दैट दोस थिंग्स।
एग्जाम आप प्रिपेयर करके दे देते हो, बट एक्चुअल में यू हैव टू शोकेस कि कितना आपको आता है। तो स्कोर डेफिनेटली एक सर्टेन लेवल तक एक इम्प्रेशन क्रिएट करता है। हम अपने रेज्यूमेज में लिखते हैं कि हमारा कितना परसेंटेज था या व्हाट वी हैव अचीव्ड इन सर्टेन एग्जाम्स, डेफिनेटली वो रेज्यूमे लेवल तक रहता है। अब आफ्टर दैट इंटरव्यू लेवल पे इट ऑल कम्स डाउन टू कि आपको कितना नॉलेज है, आप कितना विलिंग हो सीखने के लिए, आपको कितना ऑलरेडी आता है। तो आई थिंक देर इज लाइक हम लोग इतना कंपेयर नहीं कर सकते, बट अगेन आपको आता कितना है उस पर ये ज्यादा डिपेंड कर जाता है ये चीज।
अभी जैसे कोविड के बाद ऐसा हुआ है ना कि मार्केट में इतने इंजीनियर्स की रिक्वायरमेंट है ना यहाँ पे, कि पीपल से कि अ कंपनी इज लकी दैट अ पर्सन इज स्टेइंग देयर, क्योंकि अभी इतनी जॉब्स यहाँ पे बनी है ना पोस्ट कोविड। एंड पीपल आर, अब जैसे मेरी टीम में क्या है ना कि कुछ लोग सर्बिया से काम करते हैं, कुछ यूरोप से काम करते हैं, कुछ कनाडा से काम करते हैं, मोस्ट ऑफ देम यूएस से काम करते हैं। ऑफशोर जा रही है जॉब, लेकिन ऐसे नहीं क्लाइंट वे में नहीं जा रही, कंपनी हायर कर रही है दूसरे कंट्री में पीपल को। एंड तो यहाँ पे अपॉर्चुनिटी ऐसे होती है, जैसे मेरे दोस्त ने, वो टीसीएस में काम करता था, बट ही वाज वर्किंग फॉर समवन इन यूएस अ कंपनी, एंड दैट कंपनी लाइक्ड हिज वर्क सो मच, उसने उसको वहां बुला लिया, यूएस में बुला लिया, जस्ट बिना किसी जॉब के कुछ के। ही गॉट वीजा जस्ट बिकॉज ही वाज वर्किंग विद दैट फर्म इन हिज ऑफ टाइम। तो यहाँ पे जैसे अपवर्क और ऐसे वेबसाइट्स होते हैं, so you can find work। and basically क्या मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना कि technically if you're sound, any company here will also hire you। everyone is looking for people who has knowledge, जैसा भी है market।
एक्चुअली वो फ्रीलांसिंग मतलब यू कैन ऑलवेज डू फ्रीलांस वर्क। अगर आप अच्छे हो, आप डेवलपमेंट वगैरह में फ्रीलांस वर्क ढूंढ सकते हो, एंड यू कैन शो दैट एज योर एक्सपीरियंस एज वेल। एंड अगेन अगर वही एक्चुअली जो अभिषेक सिनेरियो बता रहे हैं, ही वाज वर्किंग एज अ फ्रीलांसर फॉर दैट कंपनी, एंड उसने वीजा वगैरह फाइल किया एंड ही मूव टू यूएस बिना मतलब बिना इंटरव्यू के, बिना कुछ के, बट ही वाज अगेन वर्किंग एज अ फ्रीलांसर फॉर दैट कंपनी। तो दे न्यू दैट ही इज अ गुड एम्प्लॉय, ही वर्क्स हार्ड, उसको नॉलेज है, सब कुछ है, एंड दे आर विलिंग टू हायर यू। वो करते हैं हायर आपको। दे इवन क्रिएट अ पोजीशन फॉर यू। लेट्स सपोज दो जनों ने अप्लाई किया, एक जने की रिक्वायरमेंट है, बोथ आर इक्वली गुड, दे इवन क्रिएट अ पोजीशन फॉर यू इफ दे लाइक यू सो मच। देयर इज ऑलवेज वर्क। ऐसा कभी नहीं होता कि भाई काम नहीं है, हमें नहीं चाहिए, हम मतलब वो सब बहाने होते हैं if they don't want to hire you, but at the same time if you are good they even create a position, they even create a requirement for you.
ओके मैम।
Yeah.
मैम इट्स मीन उसका जो एमटेक डिग्री है उस वो कोई हेल्प नहीं करेगा, मतलब कि वो अगर कोई अच्छे प्रीमियम इंस्टीट्यूशन से उसका मास्टर्स कंप्लीट करता है तो आगे जाकर क्या उसका वो कोई हेल्प में, मतलब कि कोई काम में नहीं आएगा?
नहीं नहीं, बिल्कुल आता है, ऐसी बात नहीं होती है। बिकॉज अभी जैसे मतलब आप जो पढ़ रहे हो, मास्टर्स डिग्री कर रहे हो, ठीक है, यू आर पुटिंग इन एफर्ट्स, आप प्रोजेक्ट्स करते हो, बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स करते हो, नई नई टेक्नोलॉजीज पे काम करते हो। अभी जैसे मेरी टीम में रिक्वायरमेंट थी आर सीखने का, आर का, तो उन्होंने पूछा कि किसने कर रखा है किसने नहीं कर रखा है। तो वन ऑफ देम उसने अपने कॉलेज टाइम में कर रखा था। तो ऐसा नहीं है कि कॉलेज में आप जो पढ़ रहे हो या मास्टर्स में आप जो प्रोजेक्ट्स कर रहे हो दोज आर नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट, दोज आर इक्वली इम्पॉर्टेंट, क्योंकि आपको कॉलेज में यू गेट टू वर्क ऑन वैरायटी ऑफ थिंग्स। आप जावा पे भी कर रहे हो, पाइथन, आर, आप फ्रंट एंड भी कर रहे हो, आप क्लाउड के भी सब्जेक्ट्स होते हैं, आप वो भी सीख रहे हो। तो इट ऑलवेज हेल्प्स, वो आप अपना दिखा सकते हो, इंटरव्यूज में दिखा सकते हो, आप अपने प्रोजेक्ट्स में आगे बोल सकते हो कि यार हाँ मैंने कर रखा है, मैंने एक बार प्रोजेक्ट करा था, क्लाउड का प्रोजेक्ट करा था, मुझे थोड़ी बहुत नॉलेज है। तो इट्स नेवर अ वेस्ट, जो भी आप सीखते हो इट्स ऑलवेज हेल्पफुल एट सम पॉइंट, आप हमेशा उसको रेफर कर सकते हो।
ओके मैम, थैंक
Um,
यू मैम, थैंक यू सर।
and moreover जब भी तुम किसी कंपनी में जाते हो एज अ फ्रेशर यू नीड सम प्रूफ कि तुमने क्या काम किया क्या नहीं किया है। सो आई थिंक मास्टर्स एंड टेक डिग्री वगैरह वहाँ पे बहुत काम आती है। वंस यू आर इनटू द फील्ड देन तुम्हारा एक्सपीरियंस और कितनी लर्निंग है वो बहुत ज़्यादा मैटर कर जाती है।
ओके सर।
I had a question that a very large amount of people get energetic during the interview, like they are very enthusiastic. Does this negatively impact on the interviewers? Like if they are like more over enthusiastic in the interview?
आई वुड से अ गुड अमाउंट ऑफ एंथुजियाज्म इज गुड। आपको दिखाना चाहिए दैट यू आर इंटरेस्टेड इन द कंपनी, यू आर इंटरेस्टेड इन द जॉब, आप करना चाहते हो, कंट्रीब्यूट करना चाहते हो, सीखना चाहते हो। बट आई एम नॉट टू श्योर अगर ओवरली एंथुजियास्टिक और ओवरली एनर्जेटिक as in how exactly you guys are thinking, like over enthusiasm, I think there is no system already। जब इंटरव्यू के लिए जाते हैं ना, थोड़ी बहुत नर्वसनेस होती है, अपना देर आर ऑल द बटरफ्लाइज इन योर स्टमक, पहले ही नर्वसनेस होती है, तो देर इज नथिंग लाइक ओवर enthusiastic, but you have to actually put effort to show some level of enthusiasm, that you know about the company, you are willing to work there, you want to work there and contribute। So a certain level is definitely good, एंड आई डोंट थिंक सो ओवर किसी का होता होगा, बिकॉज ऑलरेडी सब लोग पहले ही नर्वस होते हैं, पहले ही थोड़ा सा डरे हुए होते हैं। सो दैट इज, आई थिंक दैट्स ओके, इसका इतना नहीं सोचने का जरूरत पड़ता।
बस एक चीज का ऐड करूंगा कि व्हेन यू आर लाइक एंथुसियास्टिक एक थिन लाइन होता है, बट व्हेन यू स्टार्ट कटिंग ऑफ योर इंटरव्यूअर ऑन एंथुसियाज्म कि वो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है और तुम्हें लगता है कि वो मुझे इसका आंसर पता है, बिफोर ही स्टॉप्स हिज क्वेश्चन तुम बीच में कट ऑफ करके तुमने आंसर बोलना स्टार्ट कर दिया, या फिर उसकी एक्सप्लेनेशन तुम्हें लगती है गलत है एंड यू कट हिम ऑफ बीच में एंड यू स्टार्ट सेइंग योर आंसर। दोज आर द थिंग्स व्हिच मैटर अ लॉट, जो नहीं करना चाहिए। क्योंकि क्या होता है जब मैं इंटरव्यू ले रहा हूँ या कोई भी इंटरव्यू ले रहा है ना, तो they don't get paid for that interview. It's like they are taking that time out from their work to interview other people. So क्या होता है ना, बहुत लोग वो होते हैं मूडी होता है इंटरव्यू के समय, तो यू विल सी। सो डोंट गो बाई इंटरव्यूअर का जो रिएक्शन होता है या एक्सप्रेशन। हमारी आदत होती है वी आर इन इंटरव्यू एंड आई स्टार्ट जजिंग कि वो मुझे कैसे देख रहा है, वो मुझे कैसे जज कर रहा है। जब ये दिमाग से निकाल दोगे ना कि यू आर बीइंग जज्ड, बी योर सेल्फ। अगर तुम enthusiastic हो, बी enthusiastic। अगर तुम कर्व करोगे देन यू विल नॉट परफॉर्म अप टू योर एक्सपेक्टेशन। बट एक चीज करो, इंटरव्यूअर को बोलने दो पूरा, बीच में मत कट करो, कभी भी बीच में कट करके नहीं बोलना है या फिर आर्ग्यू नहीं करना है। देयर माइट बी सिनेरियो वेयर द पर्सन हु इज एक्सप्लेनिंग समथिंग यू डोंट एग्री विद दैट पर्सन, So you don't have to convince. एक term होता है, agree to disagree. Don't try to convince the other person. That is more important. You might वो कुछ बोल रहा है, you might agree to disagree. बोल मत देना कि agree to disagree, but don't cut him off. Let him finish. And होता है, different opinion होते हैं लोगों के. So that is something जो मुझे लगता है enthusiasm में हम cover कर सकते हैं.
Okay, due to time constraints, we need to end this meet. I want to thank the speakers for taking out time for us, and it has been a very informative and eye-opening session. And all attendees for being here. I appreciate all of you. Now for the tech bundle, Sheetal will be telling you all the tech bundles that you will be receiving today. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for being a part of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us here. It was a great experience even for us, sharing about our experiences and some knowledge. And thank you for having us. And all the best, you guys, for all of your interviews and for all of the processes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. All the
Thank you,
best.
ma'am.
So I hope I'm audible. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, so hello everyone, myself Sheetal. I'm event lead at Creator Sera. So I hope you liked our webinar. So here I would not waste much of your time. So I have 4 announcements to be made and a very special message to be delivered. So the first announcement is we are releasing more than 1,000 internship opportunities to try in USA. So yeah, you heard it right, it's 1,000. So in addition to it, emails of various recruiters will be shared with you so that you can find various internship with ease. And the second announcement is we are giving out various guides to resume making and project making, learning data science and algorithms and many more. And in few minutes after the session, you all be receiving it in your WhatsApp group. And the third announcement is our community will now be open for you all. And you can make projects, interact with other people and clear your doubts. And we will send you the mails for it. And the fourth announcement is you can now see YouTube link, and we have recently made this channel. Make sure you subscribe to it and share it. We will be posting various exciting related things to like programming, robotics on our channel. So let's grow together and learn together. So in the end, I would like to say that now is the time to take risks, and this is the time to get bold, so that you won't regret it, right? So if something is important enough, so you should try it. Even if you if the probable outcome is failure.
Sheetal, your voice is not clear. Can you repeat the last part you said, or we can end this here if your network is not? It seems that your network is low. Thank you everybody for your participation.
I will say goodbye,
and thank you for
thank you all for
participating in.
We will be providing all the stuff to the WhatsApp group. If you have any kind of doubts, please go ahead and connect us with on the WhatsApp group, and we will be answering all your questions, and you will receive all the tech bundles and related links over there. We are ending this meet now. Thank you everyone for joining in.
And don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you.
Am I audible?
Sheetal, it's okay. Your voice is speaking a lot.